Okay, we have a little more time, so I'm going to go for one more point here. The character psychology, like we were talking about earlier, now we're going to look at Jake. Jake's character psychology is, he is introduced through behavior, not exposition. Okay, I'll say that again. Jake is introduced through behavior, not exposition. We learn that he needs order. We learn that he notices misalignment instantly. We notice that he feels discomfort and chaos, that he fixes things automatically, and that he processes internally rather than emotionally outward. So he's not a very emotionally outward kind of person. He's very, everything internally happens. And these soup cans function as the character exposition. It's his internal psychology is revealed through physical action. Okay? Very, very good. Very, very good. And so, our third point here, the grocery store is a symbol. Okay? The grocery store is symbolism. McQuaid's marketplace is very, very specific and local. In fact, like I told you in the beginning of the class, it is actually a real marketplace in Rhode Island, Newport. And, they always have seafood and things for sale. But this place, it represents community, it represents the history, the clear structure and the familiar route and routine, is what I was trying to say. It establishes that familiar routine. And specifically, the specificity of all of this builds credibility. Okay? I don't know if I can say that again. Specificity builds the credibility. When the store later becomes empty and altered, the emotional impact is far stronger because the location feels real, relatable, and grounded, right? So we're making the audience feel as calm and relaxed as the coworkers do in this place. It's their workplace. They basically live there because they work all the time. And so, we want the audience to be just as comfortable as the people who work at this store. So back to Kate. Kate is showing humanity and warmth right off the bat. That's why I love Kate. Kate's such a wonderful character. She's providing a tonal grounding. Yeah, a tonal grounding. Her wit, it adds the humor. It softens Jake. It builds believable coworker chemistry, of course, and represents this organic flexibility. So she embodies human warmth and casual disorder. And when her personality later shifts towards calm alignment, the contrast will create emotional rupture. Which is such a strong setup that makes transformation powerful. It's going to make the transformation very, very powerful later in the film, when she has to, join the rebellion and fight these aliens and break out of the programming. So there's another thing. That's critical. It's critical. Another critical character, now he's even more important. This is Aaron. Aaron's one of the main characters of the film, and we don't establish him quite yet as that. But he's the philosophical foreshadowing. Aaron is cheerful. He's not ominous. He asks these critical questions. He just drives the hell out of drives Jake nuts. Drives him just nuts, guys. But he's always smiling warmly. He speaks casual. He plants ideas without aggression. Almost kind of brainwashing. This is very much why the LDS was a big inspiration for this film, because these guys, the LDS, are very much like that, right? They speak warmly, they speak casually, they smile, and they just kind of plant ideas. They plant ideas without aggression. Again, I have no, biased or opinion about what I think about the LDS. This is just what they do, and so they just happen to be a good compare and contrast for this. And so Aaron is introducing this unity, this peace, this alignment, this control. And so before the invasion appears physically, it appears ideologically. And this is narrative seeding. This is the narrative seeding. And Aaron is very much the one to do that. And so that takes us to our scene 2, when the store is closing. And this is showing the normalcy before collapse. Scene 2 reinforces the warmth and community rhythm. This Friday night energy, shared jokes, regional references, and co-worker routine, right? Culture, like Phil's talking about. Culture. And Kate is like, what do you mean culture? And she's very much part of the culture, joking about the culture within the culture. This is how culture works. People have their own takes on it. And so that's building an emotional baseline. All of those things. And without the baseline, rupture has just no impact. The rupture has no impact without establishing this familiarities, all these familiarities. So the audience must feel what is normal before they can feel what is lost, right? Because if we just show them what's lost without establishing what they lost, then they're not going to know what's going on. So it's got to be done. And so, I would say next is our languages and language themes. That's the next thing I want to go over, and how they're repeated. There's key words that echo through both scenes. Order, chaos, unity, peace, and alignment. And the repetition trains the audience subconsciously with all these things. By the time propaganda and invasion appear, the language just feels familiar and believable. It's brainwashing. We are brainwashing the audience almost to get ready to be brainwashed, because this movie is about brainwashing. So that's part of the thematic core of these two scenes. Without aliens or war, the central theme is already present. Is order safety, or is order control? Now, Jake prefers order, as we said earlier, and Kate tolerates chaos. And Phil embraces social disorder, and Aaron questions structure. Right? So this is just a recipe for all of this stuff to come to fruition. Each character embodies a worldview. This is an ideological contrast without overt political dialogue. I'll say that again. Put that in your notes, folks. This is an ideological contrast without overt political dialogue. And so next is our cinematic purpose of each character, right? Jake is order and control. Kate is the humanity, wit, and flexibility. Phil is the social energy and the normalcy. And Aaron, again, is the philosophical destabilizer. Aaron is the philosophical destabilizer. And so each character represents a philosophical axis within the story. And this creates that structural clarity. And so that's, to dive more into it and why these scenes are so advanced, many science fiction movies and scripts, they rush into the spectacle. Like I said earlier, they rush right into the big gooey, falling apart, scary, horrible, shocking, scare factor. Usually they play on the adrenaline. They go for the most scary thing they can put on the screen. But that just doesn't work anymore. We've evolved as human beings, I hope, to kind of pick up on that cliche, right? The whole Roswell, Area 51, right? We already went through that. We're not really shocked anymore with what we see. We've seen so much in these modern days. And so these scenes, they prioritize the character before conflict, which, throws someone off when they're expecting a sci-fi movie. And it's the theme before the plot. So we're establishing a very strong theme. And emotional grounding before disruption. And philosophy before invasion. That restraint, like I said, strengthens the later escalation. So, very well. Some of the key takeaways I would tell you to also take some notes on is, when you're writing a script like this, show, don't tell. Don't tell. Jake's need for order is never stated directly. It's shown through his behavior. Okay, show, don't tell. Number 2, dialogue as questioning. Aaron does not preach. He asks. And these questions destabilize more effectively than statements. Because it's very human, We ask questions as human beings. We're always asking questions. And remember, a baseline before rupture, right? The warmth of Friday night and coworker routine makes later transformation powerful. And the thematic seeding, that's the unity that appears in dialogue long before it appears as propaganda, right? We're setting up the audience to be brainwashed. And so, scenes 1 and 2, they function as psychological seed planting, a character worldview establishment, thematic blueprint, emotional baseline, and this regional grounding. They're not merely a setup, they are structural architecture for everything that's going to follow. And so that's why these first couple scenes are that important. Because these are the things that will, make or break your script. And so, there we go. There's what I had for part 2 of our sci-fi picture film lecture series of our wonderful film, The Quaid's Day of Peace. And I'm just showing you guys how to make a sci-fi picture that's going to stick out. In a way, this is more of a psychological horror movie. And it's been done before, I suppose, but not quite like this. Not quite like this. And again, pull out your computers and look at this. I'll put it up here on the screen again. But this is a very unique picture of what these aliens are going to look like. Remember, 10-foot hamsters. Okay, that's what these guys look like. They look like big hamsters, but they're covered in armor. So you're already thrown off. They look really weird. And their weapons are very, very well crafted and strange looking, and have all this dimensional light travel and things, frequencies and crap just flying around in their very animated weapons. And then we have these big, what look like ants, glowing blue. And all together, they're storming the beach, and so it's kind of creepy. I'm not gonna lie. If I saw that on the beach, son of a beach, right? I wouldn't be there. I would get the hell out of Newport, Rhode Island. But anyway, I suppose that's all I have for you today. There's more. There's a lot more to go over, of course. More scenes and more of the, deep analysis of everything that's going to be shown in this film later on, especially when the war scenes start to show up and everything. There's a lot of psychological scaring going on with this, so I look forward to being able to teach all of that. But go ahead, I've put all of this up on Canvas, so check Canvas for the new script with the new title, with some of the notes of what I took away, and of course this is always filmed and put up as well. But That's it. That's all I got for you. So bye-bye. Thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. Great attendance, like I said, and I look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah. No, of course. And that's